Okay.
All right. Marshall, I don't know if you know this, but you are the member in our Lions that has the most seniority. You have been there this year. It'll be 60 years as a Lion member. In 1961, we see that you joined, and now it's 2021, 60 years later. And with that in mind, so 60 years ago, do you even remember why you became a Lion?
Boy. Well, I was a pretty good friend of Earl Knight, and he lived about a block away from me when we lived on Main Street in Menomonie. And of course, he was a Lions member, and he said, Marshall, he said, I think you should belong to the Lions Club. I said, well, I guess that sounds pretty good to me. And of course, then at that time they were meeting at the Hotel Marion, and of course, right now I can think of their names, but I just can't give it to you right this second.
That's all right.
Wow.
That's all right. It might watch
Anyway,
you.
so that's where we met, and that was where we met for quite a few years.
At the Hotel Marion in Menomonie.
Marge and something. Oh gosh.
Did you meet downstairs, upstairs?
No, right on the main.
Right on the main floor.
They had a big dining room for our meals and our meetings and stuff like that. And I mean, I can remember a lot of people that were there, but
Is there? Do you know anything that's from when your first couple meetings to now? What's changed the most? Is there anything that you've noticed the most that's changed within the meetings?
well, that's a lot. It's
60 years is a long time.
We've gained quite a few members,
Okay.
But the people that were in charge then were a lot of fun, and we did a lot of funny things. I mean, to somebody else it might sound funny, but it was interesting.
Okay.
It was.
What would be one of those things?
Well, I don't know if anybody ever told you that we sold light bulbs, around town. Our group sold light bulbs. What else did we do? We sold brooms and rakes and things like that, and of course spiked tubs from the Farmers Union or Cynics. I mean, it's now Cynics.
Right.
He ordered all the supplies, of course, and Earl Knight and Doc Allen went to a bowling tournament, and then I think got in a car accident, and Doc Allen got killed. That was one of the things that kind of blew us apart for a little while.
Oh, really? Was he? Yeah. Was he like a?
He was a chiropractor.
He was. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you do when you were selling the brooms and the light bulbs? Did you
Oh,
sell as
yeah.
many as you sell our tickets now?
Well, I think we sold more. I don't sell many tickets. People buy them.
I've been in the Lions these 60 years. Was there anybody that was a great influencer or mentor to you? Can you recall anybody off name? But there might be several.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, well, Dick Clack. I mean, years and years ago. I mean, this is going on recording, so I'm going to be a little careful what I say. But
it's okay. We
but
can
I
edit
know
you
right
out.
up 79, I used to go up and see Dick once in a while, and of course I went on, kept on going. I went to Boyceville, and of course my dad bought, some farm equipment from Boyceville, years ago. And of course, when I grew up on a farm, we didn't get any electricity until I was 11 years old, 1943. Right in the middle of World War II. And I could tell you how they got the the electric poles so nice and straight.
How's that?
Well, I mean, that was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Well, the foreman of the line crew was Tilsit. He lived northeast of Cedar Falls, and that's where Dennis Smith lives now.
Okay.
Right on some of that property and I think he married a Tilsit. I don't know that for a fact, but I just maybe think it's possible. Well, anyway, my dad and all older men, they had a pocket watch. They stick it here, or else in their bib overalls, and you had to tie it to a button or one of your suspenders or something like that, so it wouldn't get away. And so, first of all, they got to dig a hole that's 6 feet deeper because of the frost.
Right.
If you think that frost doesn't go down 6 feet, when my grandpa died in I can't remember what year I was on the cemetery board in Iron Creek for 40 years, so I got a little of that experience, but they had to chop frost down to 6 feet deep at that time, and that was in February of, well, I'd have to look at the grave marker, to be absolutely, I think it was 1936 or something like that, in that time area. Well, anyway, the foreman, they got the hole dug, but they had a kind of a chisel, if there was sand rock or shale or something like that, and it was just like a blade on a long pole, and they chop it up, and then they had a spoon on the end of a pole, and they bring this up and they pile this dirt here. Well, then finally get ready to put the pole in. They got the pole in. I don't remember that specifically, but those poles had to be heavy. I don't know how they did it. In 1930. In 1943, because I was only 11 years old. I was 11 years old already. Anyway, Mr. Tilson, he stood back. He was the cruise chairman, or whatever you want to call him. He stood back there and he took out his pocket watch and he hung it up here like this. And of course the watch was heavy enough and then he said to the guys, move it a little bit to the east, I should say a little bit to the south, and then they would tomp it in and pack the dirt around it, and then he'd go around over here 1/4 of the way around the pole, and then they say, now you gotta go a little bit east or west.
That's how they did it, using a pocket watch.
And there's 5 poles there on our old farm. We had a long driveway, but there was just as straight as the gun shoots, Sometimes I miss a squirrel once in a while, so I think it's the gun's fault, not me.
Well, another question I have you, any major positions you've held in the Lions? Were you
No, I was just
you were just always a worker and serving?
Well, I don't know if I was a worker or not.
Yeah, I think so.
I guess
You still are.
I just am. I just enjoyed the camaraderie and I had lots of friends. I should say I had lots of friends from various reasons,
Do you have a story or two that is most memorable for you? Because you've been there quite a while. You've seen a lot of things, from the demo derbies to the rodeos and the light bulbs.
Oh, now when you talk about that, I myself, I could not believe, when we had the rodeos and stuff like that at the fairgrounds. They put me at selling beer in the bottom of the grandstand. I could not believe how much juice that was sold. I had a nail apron full, and I had so much money in it I would like to ran away. But like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I was born and raised a little differently.
Right. But that's a great job that you guys did back then.
Oh, and one of the more modern things that I really think is absolutely outstanding is when they go around, when they check these children as far as vision is concerned.
The vision screening.
I think that's just awesome. I never got involved in it, but the ones that do, I compliment them. I would like to pat them on the back, but you know, I mean, they move so fast, I can't keep up.
Do you know what? Do you have any ideas of what has changed absolutely the most?
What's changed?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
From the when?
Oh my gosh.
Is it because the women came in?
Well, you know what's interesting to me is that there was a few people that just quit Lions because they didn't want to be part of the Lions because the women came in. Well, my gosh, I mean that doesn't make any sense at all. But I mean, you're asking the question. That's why I know.
No, that's okay.
No, I mean it doesn't make any sense at all because there's so many good things that they can do that some of the guys don't care about doing. You know. And we met in so many different places. I mean, we met in Knapp. Bill Meyer had the Knapp House for years, and then we met at Tainter Lake, you know, and we met at the Moose Lodge, and I think about 5 or 6 different places over the years that I remember. Yeah, I mean, if you call that growth or whatever, and of course I don't exactly know when we started to meet at Dean and Sue's, you know, but I know some people that come there every day for their lunch.
Yep. Was there anything that you'd like to add about the Lions, or anything that you'd like to share with us? I don't know. You had some notes there. I didn't know if there was anything that you'd like to share.
I mean, I didn't know if you were going to ask me about people, you know. And
if there's anything that you can remember, we just wanted to know more about you and.
Well, you don't know find out much about me. I mean, I personally, you know, I had 2 A&Ws. You know, I mean, and I saw when the tornado went through in 1958. That was my first year in Menomonie in the A&W. And of course, the ripper machine was about 2.5 feet wide, and of course, about, you know, tummy high. And of course, lots of coils to keep everything cold. You know, you could open the faucet in the morning, and the ripper would come out at 33 degrees if you had run it all day long. And a batch of root beer concentrate made 150 gallons.
Wow.
So somebody had to be putting pails of concentrate or root beer into a pre-cooler in the back of the root beer stand. I mean, and I haven't been inside that building since 1968.
Oh,
so I don't know what's there for equipment, I mean, or anything like that. But I do know that there's when I sold it to Gordy and Linda Hoffman. They wanted to buy it a long time before that, and I sold them the one in Colfax. I had the one in Colfax. In '58, I started there, and in '58 the tornado went through, and I was at the root beer stand at the time, and I saw that tornado go across House Hill up on Highway 25, you know, and before you know it, we didn't have ambulances then, and maybe you know that. But,
no.
But then the Olson and Goodrich and Stanton had their hearses, and they transported people to Eau Claire, and they filled that Eau Claire's hospitals all up. All around, up and down Highway 12, and 94 wasn't here then.
Right.
And I remember when they put 94 in. You know, but you know, there was people that always stopped just on Highway 12. You know, as a regular habit. In the same way with Colfax. Truckers would stop out there and park on the edge of the road. You know, and come over. Somebody will come along and just I'm walking down the street. Some guy about your age will say, "You remember me?" I said, "No." I said, "I need a little help." You know, he said, "Well, I used to come to your ripper stand all the time." I said, "Well, you must have changed the way you grow your beard or something, you know." I'm talking about boys now. And so I mean, I had so many good helpers that I was really blessed. Of course, part of the reason I was in Menomonie, I was very fortunate because Dave Mays was a cousin of mine, and he worked for me at the Ripper stand for 24 years, and I had it for 28. And of course, he was a high school teacher, and he knew kids and a little bit about their personality and stuff like that. So we didn't always hire the worst people. I shouldn't say but we were very fortunate. You remember Ted Weehee?
Yes.
Well, Ted Weehee's daughter worked for me at the Ripper stand. I just remember Ted so. He was such a class guy. He sat across the table from me at Lions for years and years. Chuck Deeby and Chuck and Helen May both were in my class in high school.
Oh.
And Maury Trask is another classmate, and I started to write some things down. But back in the days when early days, like Gordy Retzloff was a pretty go-getter, and of course he had the farm implement stuff up in North Menomonie, and then in Halverson, and all the Halverson plumbing, and I can't think the guy that took it over. He lived right out on County Trunk J, just up on the hill. Yeah, I mean, he was just a workaholic for the Lions Club. I mean, and think of all Bill Hens. Think of all the work he did for us for the Lions Club. And I'm going to miss all kinds of people. But when you start to talk to your next client, I mean, he did he recycled a lot of glasses for us. And that's a very important thing.
Yes,
I've been to Rochelle myself, and I could not believe the amount of glasses that filled this room that were already calibrated so they could take them to Mexico or some other, and they send a doctor along and a nurse and somebody to kind of help control the crowd, and people line up for blocks and blocks, How wonderful is that? I mean, it's just unbelievable. So I've always been happy with all the things that they spent money on, except I can't think of something that they spent money on that they shouldn't have. But getting back to the old times, when we had the car on the ice years and years ago, we had to sit down there 12 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 24 hours a day. We had somebody made a schedule, yeah, thank you. Schedule, and of course I remember sitting down there from 2 to 4 or 4 to 6. It was hard to stay awake, but we had the car lights on that old bugger, and it was sitting like this. Sometimes it would sit like this for a week or two, and you'd think it was going to go and
So you just had to sit and watch.
And you got to know another Lions member very well. Lots of visiting. You had to either talk or you sleep. And in the wintertime, you got to run your car to keep warm.
Oh, where did you park?
Oh, just out, not on the ice. You know where the car gets set. We're just sitting back there on the land, and we had a stopwatch. So that just when the thing disappeared, pop.
Did you ever see it go down?
Oh yes. In fact, I had some pretty exciting winners. My one nephew won. I don't know what year it was anymore, but he won second place, $200 at that time, which was significant. In fact, he's bought $100 worth of tickets from us for I don't know how long. I'm not. I mean,
right.
I mean, right now we're talking about guns. But, So And then, of course, I'll never forget when we were peddling light bulbs and stuff like that. I was going down, I won't say for sure what street it was. Oh, it might have been 8th Street or something like that. And stopped at this house, knocked on the doors, and said, "We're selling light bulbs, for the Lions Club." And so I don't know what I said anymore. Well, the guy said, he said, "Well, those bulbs are good." He said, "I still got some from last year." I said, "Are you kidding me?" Well, you open up the closet door, and there they were in a box. Well, I thought to myself, you better believe what somebody says. I was really surprised, I thought it was just a way to get you back down the street. More fun, Yeah.
Well, I think that might conclude everything, Marshall. Thank you so much.
Well, okay, I'm glad you got a nice warm hand.
Yes, warm heart too.
Yeah, okay, that's absolutely true.
Do you remember why 48 years ago you became a Lion? Do you remember what that was about?
Well, I had a real good friend that was in Lions by the name of Byron Smith. And Byron Smith said that probably enjoy it, and I was working in Menomonie, and I bowled with him, and he had the Playmore lounge there right on Broadway. I don't know what they call that now. It used to be a bowling alley, and it's a Pizza Hut now. It's
okay.
bar, and I used 10 bar for him. So he invited me to join, and then I joined. And,
Okay. Let's see here. Because you've had several titles and things. And what were all the officer positions that you've held in Lions?
oh my. Well, for the district, I was golf chairman, and I was mission chairman.
And you were past district governor.
I was past president, and I was 100% there, and I was 100% district governor.
That's great. That's fantastic. Was there any role that you liked the best?
No, I had fun.
And all of them?
Enjoyed all of it. No regrets at all. But many missions to Mexico, and I started the golf tournament. See, at one time I was on the board of directors of Ben Hills Golf Club, and I was president for 5 years. So I knew, and the district was struggling financially, and so I put on 2 golf tournaments back in the 80s and made money on both of them. And the district seemed to be financially secure, so then we turned that over to the clubs, so that the intent was the smaller clubs that couldn't have a convention or anything could make a few bucks.
Let's see.
And I got my Melvin Jones from the district. I didn't get it from Menomonie Lions Club.
Gotcha. It's from the district. Okay.
Yeah, and that was back in the late 80s.
When you first joined the Menomonie Lions, correct? You joined. That was your first club. That was 48 years ago. Where were your meetings first held at?
Oh, the first meetings we held at the old Hotel Marion.
Okay.
And right after, back in the 70s, we went up to 144 members.
Wow.
Yes, we were, and we always was one of the biggest clubs in the state. And back then, I think we was probably the second or third biggest club in the state. And we got so big, we had a hard time finding a place that would
Hold all the members.
hold all the members. And in them days, most of the members came. Doesn't like today, like if you get 50%.
Right, that's what we're at right about now. We have, at this time, we have 104 members. We're gonna have induction, so we're 40 members less than what the largest was, and we have about 60 members that show up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's about the way it's been going. But,
Right.
and when I was president, we had 131 members. Now, back in the early 80s, they had given away, they had given some people privileged memberships. And all of it, we had some good hardliners back then. They're all deceased now, but they were real hardliner Lions. And so I forget who was president, but they were going to review these privileged members and probably revoke some of them. We lost about 10 members right now. And one of them we lost was a past president, Gordy Retzlaff. I remember at the board meeting, he got up and walked right out, resigned right there. So it really was a bad thing because they had already given them to him and then
And they
he was
revoked
gonna
it.
take them away. But it was always a good club.
Speaking of all these members that you've dealt with throughout the years and being a district governor, past district governor now, was there any handful of people that you really remember that influenced you, that helped you out?
Oh, let's see. No, everybody was so good. And, you know, I can't just pick out one here or there.
Right.
Everybody was really good.
Do you,
It was a different time back then. It's a different club now.
yes,
Times are different. Back then, everybody was kind of together.
gotcha.
And we used to have board meetings. A lot of times there was 30 people would show up at board meetings.
Well, we're pretty good at that yet. We have anywhere between 20 and 25 right now. at
Well,
our-
you do?
Yes, we do.
That's really
Yeah.
come up a long
Yeah.
ways.
COVID has tapered off a tiny bit, but just before COVID, we were at 20, 25 members at the board meeting.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Because you get the interest.
yes.
And one of the things missed mostly from Lions is the newsletter. You know, and people depended on that newsletter, and I think it was a bad thing when
When they
they
did it.
discontinued that.
What have you noticed? I mean, because you've been in the Lions 48 years. What is the biggest change that you've noticed? There could be like 5 of them, but is there any? What is something
Well,
that's different? So different from when you started, or from when you were president, district governor to now? Is there anything that sticks out the most?
Well, I think the international allowing women to join, that was probably the biggest thing. We lost a couple, 3 members over that. We lost 2 brothers. One brother was a hardliner. The other brother quit because his brother, to support his brother died and he come back. There's funny things that happen, but,
Right.
but
Right.
that's probably the biggest change that
Okay.
the gals, and it was a good change. Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd want to tell newer Lion members like myself? I've only been in the Lions going on 9 years, 8-9 years.
No,
We're just looking for words of wisdom from you, and like I said, you've done a lot for the Menomonie Lions and for our district and our state. So, just wanted to know if there was anything that, or anything you'd like to tell us.
No, you know, because it's been such a successful club over all the years. It's been a very successful club, and years ago we was in financial trouble. That's quite a few years ago, and and we did some. I hate to bring up a lot of this stuff because it sounds like I'm bragging about myself.
No,
I don't
no,
wanna do
please.
that. But we was in financial troubles, and one of the guys, a couple of the guys, well, there was oh, what was his name? Gene. What was the old beer distributor and there?
Was that Gina Hagen?
Uh,
Oh, I don't have it in my list either.
Anyway, he was the head of the county fairgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
He took care of that, and he come to me one time and said, "Would you go to the board of directors and see if we can have a truck pull?" And so I did, and I chaired that truck pull, and the guy was out of Harmony, Minnesota, and I met with him, and Ed Olson and I went down to Durand and met with him. He come up that far, and we met, and I said, "Well, I don't know anything about a truck pull." He says, "You do everything I tell you to, and you will make money." And this was 82 or something, 83, back in there. We put on a truck pull. That truck pull grossed $23,000 one night.
Wow.
And when all the bills were paid and everything was done, it came to profit was, we had money piled up all over, and
That's
the
fantastic.
profit came to 790,990 and threw in some. There was $10 donated, and that made it even 8,000.
That's fantastic. You have any other memories of any like fundraisers or events or service activities that the Lions have done that was dear to your heart?
Well, I started a couple golf tournaments, but they didn't want to keep it up. Too much work.
That is. Mm-hmm.
And that one, we took an insurance policy for $10,000 for a hole in one.
Oh.
And some guy come along, and I remember asking him, he said, "You want to join our tournament?" Because it was open. No, he didn't want to join. He come around and he made that hole in one.
But he didn't get any money
He didn't
because he
get any
didn't
money
join.
because he didn't join. He didn't, it was just a few bucks to join, That was one of the, I'll never forget that. Yeah, but another year, Kai Chevrolet donated, then the next year, Kai Chevrolet donated a used car we put out there, and closest to the pin, and I forget who won that car.
Did you do anything with Car on the Ice? That's been
We
going
used
on
to
for
have
a-
to go down and take turns watching.
All hours of the night.
Yep, 24 hour. 24/7.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Oh, I've given most of my stuff to John Ho,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and maybe you got one from Marshall.
Got
Len Grove made a book.
Yes, I have that, yes.
You got that?
Yes, I do, I have that,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, and I believe you do too, yeah.
Yeah, so I gave mine to John Hope.
Yep, I have one too. I don't know if John passed that to us, so we put it in the computer now, so we have access to it forever. It's kind of in the
Yeah,
cloud.
So that's, that was a lot of history in there.
Yeah, yeah, I did.
But we had I know Len Anberg, we used, down at the game park, they had a llama
They had a
at one
lot.
time. And then we had caribou at one time. Now, the llama, Len Anberg was the head of the game park. And when he passed away, then Denny Olson took it over. But Len Anberg used to get so mad at that llama, he got rid of it because it spit at him. And the caribou we had down there got, what do you call these bugs that get in their blood suckers, you know.
Ticks?
Yeah, ticks. They got lousy with ticks and actually killed a couple of them. So they don't have them anymore.
Well,
The
with
big,
that,
you've seen the big elk picture, haven't you? Yeah, I took that picture. And then I gave one to Ron Hastings, and that was, I don't know if they still have that hanging in, he had his office up there in county. I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was a big one, and I got one hanging downstairs. That elk went to Illinois and they sold it. That was, somebody come up from Illinois, and at that time, you know, you could trade back and forth because there was not this DW disease, you know.
do you have a story or a memory of an event that sticks out most in your mind?
This, the flea market.
The flea market.
Yeah, we had a flea market way back then.
And where was that at?
That was held at the fairgrounds. And that was we had a lot of fun things. And before that, and always at Dairy Days, we gave out ice cream cones down by Lambert's. Free ice cream cones. We did these fun things, and that's one of the big differences in the club now. They don't do anything for free. Everything's got to be money making. And that is disappointing to me because we don't do these community free things too much anymore. But we had a flea market out there. Well, there was a couple bought in cars and I forget what, we had a corn roast, and Billy Hintz was in the club, and he was president of the cheese factory. So he'd take milk cans, fill them full of sweet corn, take them out to the factory, put the steam hose in them. We had few seconds, you had steamed hot sweet corn. Of course, left the husk on them, you know. And then they had a chicken fly, and so put the chicken up here and see what one, you know, would fly the furthest. You know, bet on that, and then they made a board, like square board, like your football boards or something, and put a chicken on there, and then you bet which one square that chicken was going to make a drop on. You know, there was a lot of fun things, you know, and we had a lot of good times. I would say more so than now. Most of it now is making money. And One of the things that I haven't seen a financial report for a long time, so I don't know how much money they're sitting on. But they used to sit on close to 100 grand. And of course, that checkered flag banquet always made a lot of money. And Terry Gertz really is the guy that started that.
Yeah, we'll be talking to him soon too.
If you, and I'm sure that was Terry Gertz that really started that, and turned it over to Brad Wozniak. But I'm sure that was one of Terry Gertz's things.
Speaking of membership again, I was told years ago that when you wanted a member to join, you took it to the board first, and they got the board's approval for that member. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the way it was. I can't remember, I had very little orientation, and then all the members kind of got around and talked why they joined Lions and what to expect, and very little orientation, and then he was approved, and I don't think they had a committee. I think it went to the board of directors.
Okay. If there's anything else you'd like to share?
Oh gosh, I could sit here and talk, tell you stories for the next day, I guess. So many trips to Mexico, and
Was there a trip down there that stood out more than others, or just a couple?
oh no, we used to, that part of that, the east side of the shed, that was filled so many times with what's donated. We used to get beds and everything. I don't know how many semi-loads we took out of there and sent. But they were all good times, and let's see, who all went to Mexico? I started it through Del Plank. And I wonder if Del Plank will come up faster. She's given her to our, I'll have to ask him. He's a Wamedy.
Okay.
But we sent so many buses, and I was involved in a lot of purchases of buses, and
Thank you. Well,
took some. Oh, one of the things, Plum City donated a bus to the district. And I drove it, and this Walt, and I can't remember his last name, they had a butcher shop down in Plum City. So we drove that bus to McAllen, Texas. And as soon as he got there, he didn't stay for the missions or anything. He just come back. And it was a few months later, well, when I was down there, of course, you present the keys from somebody from Mexico come over, and then there was a little ceremony. You present the keys to, and I got to do that. And a few months later, I got a call from Plum City that the bus was found out by in Utah, close to Salt Lake City, I guess. Well, what happened? I think Bob Walters was practicing attorney, and I knew him pretty good, so I asked him what we should do, because the bus was still in Plum City's name. They found the bus abandoned by the road, so it quit, you know. Was run out of gas or whatever, I don't know. But what they did, they didn't take it back to Mexico. We loaded up a bunch of her emigrant and took off. So what I called out there or something and told them, I'd just keep the bus, just keep it, forget it. So that's the last I ever heard from him. That was one of the things I remember. That kind of was hair raising. Another thing happened, and you get me started, and I can keep it going. I'll have you here all day. One of the other things that happened was on the rodeo. Come on in, Greg.
Hey. Hi.
Hey, Greg, can we talk to you too?
No.
Come on in. Come on in.
We're going to Dean's after this,
Going where?
to Dean Larson's after this.
Well,
And then we were hoping to get you too.
I'm here.
Yeah, well, we'll get you too then.
Come on
Yeah,
in.
just have a seat next to Dick here.
How are you?
We're just, we're interviewing the Lion members that have been in the Lions 40-some years, the top 15 members. And you're on that list.
Oh.
And let's see here, Greg, you and Gary both have, like 34 years.
Yeah.
34, 35. So, I was just interviewing Dick here, so you guys can chime in. I was asking, Dick, any special memories or any of the,
Well, I was going to tell you about the rodeo, and we hired this contractor. He was out of Missouri, someplace. And we was, Menomonie Lions Club hosted it, you know, but he was the contractor that took it over. And this one kid come in and he didn't have much experience. He was from locally here, and his mother still lives here.
Presley?
Uh,
Presley?
Presley. Presley's wife was his mother, and he come out of the chute riding this bull and bull throwed him and stepped on his chest. And men have a blood vessel that's not protected very well, and it busted that blood vessel. And he got up and he climbed up to get out of the way, he climbed up on the fence, and then he went down. And there was a storm that night. Of course, Eau Claire didn't have a helicopter. They had to bring it up out of Rochester, and it was late getting there because of the storm, and he didn't make it. That was,
Yeah, that was our local boy.
yeah. And the PCR, Professional Road, they changed their rules then now after some of that happened, that they have to qualify to be to enter, you know. They have to have qualifying schools and stuff a lot of times because they had so many accidents.
You and I can't do that no more.
Huh?
No, we can't do that no more.
So, but we had 2 rodeos, and they made some money, but not a lot, but probably $3,000 on each one, you know.
well, I asked this question to Dick before. What is the biggest change that you've noticed in the Lions from when you joined to now? I mean, there's been several changes, but is there
When
any?
I first got in, you had to wear a suit and all that
Oh, yeah.
shit. You couldn't miss more than 2 meetings in a row. They throw your ass out. I got threw out. Remember, well, that threw me out. One of the meetings I supposedly
Yeah, wow,
missed, I
that-
sat with you and Arlene at ladies' night.
Sat right with him and they ate at a meeting, and the next meeting they was gonna throw him out because he hadn't been at a meeting, so that didn't know anybody.
That was an asshole secretary, right? Willette?
He was president, no, he was secretary, I
I
guess.
think he was.
But we had some good hardliners back then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I first got in, I thought I was a great grandson, you know, because everybody was old, or I was a young fart.
Do you remember how old you were when you joined?
34 years, 35 years ago, because I got through out for a year. I'm 70, gonna be 70, so
Okay.
I was, what, 35?
Yeah, I was, guess I was, how old was I? I was must have been in my 40s.
Yeah.
Do you have any special memories of the Lions? Either a fundraiser or a service activity that sits in your head that you remember the most? Like Dick was remember the rodeo. Was there anything else that you remember or that you're real proud of that the Lions have done in the 40-some or the 30-some years you've been in?
I don't know, one of the things that I don't miss that I always had to do was when they had a demo derby, I had to get the logs out, you know, because they kept them behind that wall on the racetrack. So we'd get all them out, and that one year we had 3 damn demos.
Yeah.
And it was like a full-time job, you know? You get them out, put them away, and a month later you get them back out again.
Oh, demolition derby, we had as high as 120 cars at the time.
Oh, yeah. It took half the damn night. There was a time when my kids were in it, and I had one skid loader trailer, and they had 8 cars at my shop, 8 different kids. I mean, they had a hell of a time working on them. But when they start hauling them home at night, one at a time, holy Christ. They're hauling all night. It's daylight and they're still hauling them piles of shit home. I said, why don't you just leave them down there? They're not worth bringing home.
Do you remember why you joined the Lions? Was there any particular reason?
No, Art talked me into it, you know, because he was at the bank and I spent a lot of time at Bremer. Well, it wasn't Bremer, it was Bank Menomonie then. But he talked me into it going once, and everybody gave him shit because they said that your guest doesn't pay for their meal. If anybody does, you do, you know, like Arden. Well, I ended up paying for it. He got a lot of shit over that. No big deal. Just stupid shit like that. And he was pretty pissed off too when I got through out.
Well, did anybody tell you about the Lions going out to the last frontier for their meetings?
No.
Oh, we went out there, you was there.
Oh, yeah.
We went out, we had meetings out to the last frontier.
Just too close to shooters.
That was shooters.
Yeah, I know, you just had to walk across the hall.
So we had meetings out there. And, there was a guy, a tavern owner in Boyceville that joined the Lions. And he's bound determined he'd stop, pick me up and take me out there. He stopped and picked me up, but he was about 3 sheets in the wind every
Got
time.
here.
Oh, I'll tell you, I just hung on the car all the way home.
Well, you own the bar in Boyceville, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bar in Boyceville. So, there's so many things over the years.
Well, parking cars. My father-in-law was kind of crippled up. He was a Lion, and I wasn't. So he always talked me into parking cars for him down at the rec park, you know, for the fair. Well, oh my God, you get tangled up with what the hell's his name from the Nap House?
Oh.
Bill Myers, and the old shit bumper from Cedar Falls. Cheswold, all them guys, and they get you some goddamn drunk parking cars and you didn't know what row you were even standing by.
Oh, Corky Spagnoletti,
Oh yeah, he's another one.
the sheriff was kind of head of the demolition derby, and they allowed beer back then, and well, they finally got wise and wouldn't allow beer back there
Oh,
anymore.
back in the
but-
pit.
Oh. So,
Bad
Corky
luck
had some
sober.
guy down on the ground because he was unruly, and that kid, that guy's kid was kicking Corky, and oh, that was many times.
A lot of goofy shit, when you think about it.
But it was all, we always had a good time though. It was always fun. Everything was,
Is there anything in the Lions today that we don't do that you wish we were still doing?
Well, a lot of guys didn't like it. I didn't mind that damn broom sales. I had a lot of fun with that.
yeah, light bulb.
Light bulbs and brooms.
Yeah. We used to sell them.
But I always got stuck in that area down behind the Dairy Queen, you know, to the west. And it was mostly student rental. Well, you go up to the door and Christ, they'd say, well, I can buy light bulbs at Fleet Farm, you know, for a quarter. Why the hell should I give you $4 for 3 of them or what the hell ever it was? But they always had beer. There was always a half barrel set up in the living room and you had to sit there and drink beer for a while.
Well, I
That was
was a
fun.
young fellow now, you know, and out here on the farm, didn't know a lot of people in town. Went on
Yeah.
to selling light bulbs, and I've never told this to anybody.
My
before.
last 2 years.
I went to this one particular door, and this woman came in a sheer nightgown. Well, come on in. I didn't step inside the door at all. I just backed off and went on my way.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna do.
Oh,
One year I sat at Jake's with my light bulbs, me and Cheswold. People come in, if you buy a light bulb, we buy you a beer. I think we'd spent over $100 that night buying beer for other people, but we got rid of all our light bulbs.
You guys have some great stories. You really do.
but, you know, them were the good fun times. We had a lot of fun. I think we had more fun back then.
Yeah, you know, it was stricter, but everybody had more fun, I think. I mean, we used to sit at Dean and Sue's till the stools went up at 2 in the morning, every damn meeting.
Oh, there's times I didn't get home.
Oh.
And then we used to stop, Colonial Pines right there. You know where that was,
Yes, I do.
okay? Harv Sutliff had that,
Oh,
yeah. And Corky was president. Well, we'd go out there after a meeting, and 2 o'clock come, well, Corky says, just lock the door. There's times I didn't get home till 4 o'clock in the morning.
God, there was a lot of mornings that I didn't
Oh.
even go to bed before I went to work. And I just hope nobody could smell my breath, 'cause it wasn't gonna be good.
When you first joined, where were the meetings at for you?
Oh God, Nap House, shooters. I think Parkside once in a while, Piranha, whatever the hell.
We
it's
had
called.
them, yeah, Piranha once in a while. And we went a long time to, down there on 20th, what's, that, what do you call that, fraternity down there? It's a club.
Down where? What street?
Go down below Lammers and then take a right there. That, they used to serve meals on Friday night.
Oh, what the hell is the name of it? It's a club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Moose?
Moose.
Moose.
Oh.
Yeah, the Moose. We met there for a long time. And then, who was it Dave Barnard?
I don't know.
Was the head of the Moose?
I don't remember.
then- The Moose had finally said you had to be a member or you can't be here. So they kicked us out.
They really changed down there. I went there about a year ago when my mother was still alive. She wanted to go to bingo. And if you weren't a member, you couldn't buy a beer. You know, and that was the middle of the evening, you know.
That's when we went to Dean and Sue's.
The hell's it even
Stayed.
open for? Yeah. I guess, I don't know which place I remember best. We went to Nap House for a long time.
Oh, a long time now.
Another question I asked Dick, I'll ask you, was there anyone special in the Lions that was like a mentor to you or helped you out or that you have a special memory of? Or was it just a bunch of people?
I don't know. I got along with all of them fights. Dick was a good one, you know. And I've known Dick for Christ, how many years? Well, Dick used to drive ready-mix truck, and I was in the cement business, so he hauled us many loads of concrete. Used to see him 3-4 times a day, a lot of days. But no, I just had a lot of fun with all of them. Some of them I didn't really like. Old John Kraft, he was kind of an ornery old thing. But I talked to him, you know.
Then we had, we sold, I and Teddy Richards got selling his color books.
Oh, yeah.
That's when the big color books first come out.
Yep.
And the Lions took them over, and we were the only ones that saw them. Pretty soon the stores had them in too, so we kind of quit that, but we made some money.
What was Dan's last name?
Cots?
Cox. He used to always give them to my kids.
Yeah.
He'd always buy them big coloring books and drop them off to the kids.
Stan Cots was a good friend, and he was secretary, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Did you happen to bring in any members into the club?
Me,
Yeah.
I brought in 2 or 3, and they all got out within 6 months. Mike Gifford was one.
I brought in the older Gifford.
Kenny?
Huh?
Kenny? Kenny Gifford?
Yeah, I brought in Kenny Gifford on the second time. He come in. I brought in a kid that bought the Tonio Pines. And he didn't stay very long, then he moved back to Michigan.
Mark Thomas was another one I brought in. And he just said,
Who else
you
I
guys
brought
drink
in?
too much
Somebody
for me.
else.
I can't keep up. Whatever. You know, you don't have to drink.
There was a lot of good times. Yeah, I missed some of the things we did, giving ice cream cones away at Dairy Days.
And one thing they never really did was try to involve the young people, the new people, like they do now. They try to get everybody going right away. And back then they didn't. You know, Mike Gifford, I don't know why he wanted to get in, and I got him in, and I don't think he was in there 6 months. But then he was working at 3M.
Yeah.
A lot of meetings he couldn't make either. But
And then Warren Kropp had an accident hunting. You know, he fell out of the tree stand giveaway on him, and down
used
he
to
went.
do a lot of camping with him.
Huh?
Used to do a lot of camping with him up north.
So the Lions got together and remodeled his house and put a
Ramp.
elevator in.
Oh, was that an elevator?
Yeah.
I didn't know
They put an elevator in for it.
I knew they put a ramp outside for his
Yeah,
wheelchair.
a ramp outside and then an elevator, so you could up and downstairs.
He lived a long time.
Yeah, quite a while.
Yeah, I mean paralyzed. So, yeah. But I don't know. When I think back, this is a lot of goofy shit. You know?
No, something I was, no, you got a branch club.
Yes.
That's still going pretty good?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
The branch club that we have is a Ridgeland Virtual Quilters. They live all over, and they get together and they quilt at home, and then they donate their quilts to different charities in the area. And so that just started. They're right now, the branch club is only around 6 or 7, but they're still looking, because you don't have to go to meetings. They'll they'll talk on the phone, or they do things like that. So a lot of these people are doing that right now.
How many people from our club are going to Boyceville?
Oh, to help out?
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet, because that hasn't really been mentioned. I think it's to be mentioned at the next meeting. So I think there's a handful. Do you know?
I mean, I'll be there, I'm always there, but
We even had a couple meetings at the Best Western. The Vandenberg brothers owned that, and they was good supporters of the club, so we went out there and they used to buy a lot of light bulbs. So we had a couple meetings out there, but back then, when I was president, up until that time, you had a committee that was a meeting and food committee. So that committee decided where you was going to meet and the meals you was gonna have. The president didn't have nothing to say about it, and that's the way it was. And it worked out good.
Top 15 members in the club, and who's been in the longest. So let's see, we got you here. Let's see, Dean, what do I got you down here as? 42 years.
44, actually.
Oh, 44.
Yeah.
Okay.
I joined
So,
in 77.
okay, and they have you in as 79.
77 I joined.
77. Okay, were you in Boyceville, were you?
Elk Mound.
Elk Mound.
Yeah, we had, I think, 33 members
Okay.
when I joined. Yeah.
All right. Because, because LCI has you at 70. Did you have a year in between that was missing or something? No. Okay. Well, that's what it pulled up here. So maybe the secretary back then put in the date instead of a transfer. I don't know. 'Cause we
Yeah.
wanted to make sure, but I want to make sure that you have your 44 years. So basically, anyways, what we're doing is we're going to the top 15 members. We're just talking to you. I got a few questions to ask you, and just kind of filming. We're going to do on our 75th is we're going to have a little video in the back with you guys kind of talking. It's not going to be shown on a screen. If anyone wants to walk over to look at it, that's fine, but that's what we're doing there. So, are you ready? Okay. One of my first question is, do you remember why you became a Lion 44 years ago?
I was asked by a member of the Lions Club at the time, so
And that was in Elk Mound?
in Elk Mound. Yep.
How many years were you in Elk Mound?
Oh gosh, from 77 to 93,
And what made you transfer over to Menomonie?
we moved to Menomonie.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. And do you have any, what positions have you all held?
President, vice president, lion tamer,
Were you doing that in Elk Mound or?
Elk Mound.
Elk Mound.
Yep.
What about
and
you?
Director, I've been in Menomonie.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Let's see. What have you noticed since you've joined? What is some of the biggest changes you've seen or that you've noticed that just flashes to your head?
girls came to the club.
Okay. Do you have any special memories of a lion event? Anything that sits in your head that you remember the most, or you had the most fun with, or?
I guess I was younger at the time, but we used to go to the state conventions all the time. We had a lot of fun down there, trading pins and things. So.
What about with the clubs, like some of the old fundraisers or old service activities we did? Anything that sticks in your head with that?
Well, of course, in Menomonie we do a lot of stuff, but in Elk Mound we built the park over there from a field. We built ball fields and pavilions.
Any
I
proud-
took my crew in to actually build the pavilion over there. So.
What are the most recent things you've been doing with the Menomonie Lions?
Vision screening.
Did you do any building of any of those ramps or anything?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yep, did that too. Yep.
Okay. Was there anybody in the Lions that's influenced you, or a mentor, or someone that you remember special that might not be around anymore? Or they can be around if they are.
Yeah, actually, there's quite a few of the old fellows that I remember that were real active in the club and since passed. But
When you joined or coming into the Lions, you said you came in about 93 into Menomonie Lions?
Yep.
And do you remember anything different from 93 to now, that how we do things a little different?
It's more casual now than what it was. Pretty much dressed up quite a bit when we first came in, and now probably not so much. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Once again, you got any memories in your head that you want to share? Any specific time? Was there a time at working any of the projects that?
They've all been fun. I guess I can't think of anything specific, but it's just the camaraderie with all the people. It's just a fun club to be in, and a good service club.
Okay, you answered all them really quick. we had Marshall talking, and when Dick and Greg, they started talking together, and there's a bunch of things that they were able to come up with. And
Oh, sure. Yeah.
so exactly. But this is all we really wanted, is just to talk to you about some of your experiences or anything like that, you know. I should have probably sent you these questions before we got here.
Yeah. When we moved the lion shed from were you in the club then?
Nope, I was not.
It was just across the street, and we moved that over and put additions on that.
What were there any different animals in the game park when you joined versus now?
There were, what did we have? We had there were a couple different animals, and I don't remember what they were even. So, they were over by the deer pen.
Yeah, we were. I believe Greg talked about reindeer.
Reindeer, that's what they were. Yep, that's what they were. Yep.
And James, you mentioned, I guess, peacocks.
Peacocks had them. Yep.
So I wasn't here then.
Now
so.
we have the geese.
Yeah, we do. I think they followed me from southeastern Wisconsin.
Right? Yeah.
Because there was a lot of them.
Lots of them down there.
Yeah. And I think, and up here there wasn't that many about 9 years ago, but now they're all here, so I'm thinking they followed me. Well, I think that's it. Unless, like I said, you want to share anything else, Dean? We're, like I said, we're just kind of going around and talking to you seasoned members, seniority that you're holding in the Lions.
Yeah.
Did you do anything for the district at all? Were you ever in the district?
I was
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. But president, vice president, did you do secretary or treasurer in any of those?
I did not.
Okay.
No.
All right. Do you remember what the largest members, largest at the time the club was? In Menomonie? Do you remember how?
It's hovered around 100 all
Yeah,
the time. 100
okay,
to
for when you've
110
been in,
maybe,
yeah. Okay. Because when we were talking with Dick Clack, he said it was up to 144 at one time.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So
What years was that?
I don't remember if he said. But yeah, I just found all that interesting. And like I said, you transferred in and stuff, and pretty neat. Pretty neat.
Were you a member down in southern Wisconsin?
No, I was not.
No.
I became
You
a
said
member.
your dad was.
Well, my dad is. I'm a third generation. Are you any generations, or are you first?
First.
I'm a third generation Lion member. My grandfathers were in, and then my uncle, my dad. And then when I moved up here and I got a normal people job where I had normal hours instead of all the shift work and changing days off, I joined the Lions to make friends.
It's a good way to do it.
Well, because you know how it is when you're not from here and you work out of your home, you don't meet anybody.
Right.
So you jump
And-
in feet first, and
It was just kind of a perk of being in the Lions. I didn't expect it, but I worked for probably an awful lot of everybody in Elk Mound. I think I worked for, and an awful lot of them in Menomonie.
Sure, once you get to know someone,
Yep.
and it's a great way. Like I said, a fantastic organization.
Yeah, it is.
So, all right.
So, other than that, that's
Members and talk with you guys and get you on camera. What we're going to do at the 75th is James is going to have a little screen and it's going to be playing. He's going to edit and stuff, and it's going to play so people can go over there and hear about the old days or not, whatever they choose to do. So
Look at that. We don't want to be.
yeah, we don't, but okay. What do we say? How many years? Say 45 years at least to go. You became a Lion.
Right.
And Ron, do you remember why you joined the Lions?
My uncle, Lawrence Michaelbuck, was a charter member of the club, and he started to get me involved in the late 60s. And I hemmed and hawed because of my job, and then I moved away to Fenimore, and that's when I joined. It was a year after I left Menomonie, and I came right back here and then transferred
So you started in a different club?
to Fenimore.
Fenimore. And that was is that in our district then? Because I don't see that
No,
naming. No,
no.
that was a different district.
Down by, well, it's closer to Dodgeville, Prairie du Chien.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. All right.
that's how I got started.
And how many officer positions have you held?
Third, second, first, and president, lion tamer.
Were you secretary or treasurer?
No, that I wasn't. I was on a board for it had to be close to 20 years. There was one other, lion tamer, and what's the other one? Tail twister.
Okay.
So those are the.
And what years were you on the board? I mean, majority of that time.
Let's see, I was president at our 50th. So 3 years before that. I'm not sure. Been a lot. I know I've been on the board for 20 some years.
Did you have a position you liked the best, or?
Well, I was almost afraid to be president because I don't like microphones in my face. I usually I have to almost close my eyes and not look at people because I just choke up. But I made it. I did make it. So.
Can you tell us members, like I only have like 9 years in, what the differences are between when you joined 40 some years ago to now? What is the biggest difference that you see?
Apparel. I can remember in the wintertime I always had a sport coat on or a shirt and tie. And now people come and have their hats on, and I dress with shorts in the summer. And, so the apparel is definitely a big change. Big change.
And since you've been in the Lions all these years, there's been some great Lion members, I'm sure, that you've come across. Do you have any special memories, any good influencers or mentor to you, someone that you...
Well, the one was my uncle, who was a charter member, and who got me involved in it, interested in it. And I could see what Lions were doing, and I was very interested.
Is there a project or something that you've enjoyed the most? Or you have any memories on any projects or service things that we've done?
Well, I didn't like the light bulb sale. I did not enjoy going door to door selling light bulbs, but I did it. And the coloring books we did in the mall, that wasn't my favorite. I enjoyed the demo derby for all the years we had it until somebody threw a beer can at me and it was full. And then after that, I kind of wanted to get out of that, but it is what it is. So.
Were you involved a lot with the game park at all? Any memories of that?
I always went down and worked it every year for for all the years, until the last couple. And I've taken my grandkids down there a lot. Enjoyed it.
Do you have any special memories or anything that sticks out? It's like we're trying to. I know it's kind of hard to put you on the spot now, but if you think of anything as we'll continue talking and something pops up. When we were talking to. Go ahead.
Well, our 50th was, kind of important being I was president. And I can't remember the guy's name. He was from Hawaii. He had something to do with Stout at one time.
Oh, yes, he was the past international director.
Yes, yes. And I was scared to death to go pick him up. I picked him up at the Best Western. My wife and I did. And just the nicest person, but I was just almost shaken when I picked him up to meet such a dignitary. But I got through it. So.
I was trying to see if I had a copy of the 50th, but I really don't. Oh, Al Johnson? No, that wasn't it. No.
It's
It
a
was
funny name.
David P. Barnum.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, Herbert
Watanabe or
Yeah,
something?
Watanabe. Yes, that's who it was.
That's who it was, yes.
And now this year we're going to have past international director Mark Hintzman.
Okay,
So that's who we'll have this year.
already.
I just, like I said, I'm trying to think of any other memories, anything that, like I said,
Nothing I can think of right now.
can you have a story of a goofy event? Or how about this? Where was the first meetings you attended when you started in the Menomonie Lions? Do you remember where the meetings were?
Were they at Hotel Marion?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I think it was a Hotel Marion.
Okay,
It's been so long.
that's what Dick Clack said and a couple
Okay.
others. So I was wondering there.
That it.
I'm trying to think if I have any other questions at the moment. Not really. Like I said, we're just trying to we might grab you guys again if you come up with another
Okay.
tidbit or something. We'll grab you again
Okay.
and ask. Because like I said,
Well, I
we're
think of
just
it.
kind of looking
Think of
for
something.
some stories and some memories that you have. But it's very interesting for you to say too that you notice the biggest difference you notice is attire, and that has been mentioned. And then of course the women being added too. That was
Yeah,
another
and-
big thing.
And that was great. And then to have a lot of not a lot of my friends, but a couple of good friends,
Left.
they left the club, and it's been so good to have them in the club but that's the way some people are.
Oh, and that's the way it was a different time.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. Because to be honest with you, even for myself, I'm a third generation Lion.
Oh, really?
Yes, my grandfathers, my dad and my uncle, and now myself.
Okay.
And but I didn't even know the women were allowed in Lions.
Well, they weren't at one
Right,
time,
and
yeah.
because that was, and then all of a sudden now it's like, you're 2000s, and I'm like, they are? I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So I get it. Okay,
Okay, we're done.
I guess so.
Suppose it's been a couple.
I have you 1974.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, and Marshall Schaefer, 60 years this year.
60 years.
60 years.
I know he was one, must be the oldest one.
Yeah, he has the most seniority, and yeah, he even came in before I was born. And then the next one is Dick Clack, and then you,
Yeah, I think Dick was about a year ahead of me.
and that's what you got. Yep. And then Bob Mersch is right after you, and he's going to be coming to town for the 75th. So, and then after Bob, it's Arden Alexander. We haven't gotten a hold of Arden yet, though, to talk to. So, anyway, but that's what we're kind of. Okay. All those years ago,
Yeah.
do you remember why you decided to become a Lion?
Well, a good friend of mine, neighbor down the street, was, in fact, he got approval. Back then, you got an approval from the board before you invited somebody. So he got a
approval, which I didn't even know he was trying to get approval, of course, but anyways, he come down and said, well, he said, you're okay to join Lions Club. He said, would you like to join Lions Club? It was Dennis Olson. And I said, I wasn't back here that many years yet, and I said, I don't think I got time. So then it was, I don't know, 3-4 years later maybe, I said, told Dennis, well, I think if they want to reapprove me, I think I could probably have time now, you know, to be in line, because you didn't miss meetings back then.
Right.
I mean, and so it was,
We were told it was a little stricter back then.
yeah, real strict. Yeah, if you miss 2 unexcused meetings, then your name come to the board, and they decided what they wanted to do. You know, which generally, if you didn't have a good reason why you resolved. Like, in fact, one of our presidents, he was president, Wayne Hughes, then sometime after he was president, he golfed, and he wanted to get leave of absence for the summer to golf. And he said, make up your mind, do you want to golf or do you want to be a Lion? And so he quit.
Wow, very strict. Very strict. From you beginning joining the Lions to now, what is one of the biggest differences that you see?
Well, probably dress code would be one thing. We wore a suit and a tie, and then I remember when I got so liberal that during the summer months you could wear a sports coat instead of a tie. and of course, just the strictness of common.
Do you think it should be a little bit stricter again or more stringent? Do you think that would help?
The pendulum swings back and forth. I think it was too strict back then. Probably a little lenient now.
Okay.
I mean, I see, of course, I don't recall that there's any affiliate members back then. And
Yeah.
so you know, now it's all right. We need them. We need the members.
Right.
But
Do you remember how?
But I don't know where you draw the line.
Do you remember how many members were the most when you've been in?
I think it maybe 100 and teens or up to 20 maybe at one time.
You were mentioning that they were thinking about splitting.
Yeah, they were thinking about having a noon and an evening club at one time because, you know, I think it was up around 120. And it kind of boggles my mind now because there's more people and less strict, and yet we still struggle to keep 100.
And then it never split.
No, we never split. No.
Another question I have for you is, how many officer positions or how many times have you been on the board?
I guess I was a treasurer for, I don't know, at least a half a dozen years. So I was secretary 1 year. I guess I can't answer how many times I've been on board or whatever.
Were you a director ever or president?
No, that's where I drew the line. I know I went from treasurer, and they nominated me for third vice president, and I said, no, I don't want to be president. I said, I'm not the type of person to be president, and for obvious reasons, anyways, they railroaded me in, and so I think after 2 or 3 months, I just said I can't do it, so I wrote a letter of resignation, and then they kind of took me off from third vice president. And I think I was treasurer after that, then again. And
Do you have any,
and 1 year, I think it was 1 year, I went as secretary after that. And then they needed a treasurer, and I said, well, that's my piece of cake. I said, I don't like writing letters. I like working with figures. So I went back to treasurer again.
Do you have any memories of any members or any great influencer of yours or mentor or something that?
Well, of course, other than Dennis, Len Amberg, he was a great lion. I always looked up to him. And, you know, when I was all the years as treasurer, I worked under a different president each year, and they were all different, but yet they were good in their own ways, you know. And it was interesting, I guess, to work under that many different bosses.
Was one of your favorite things you've done with the Lions? Activity, fundraiser, doesn't matter. Is there just a memory out there that?
Well, you know, one thing that we did have once a year was we sold light bulbs and brooms, and I liked that. And I'm not worth a hoot at selling raffle tickets. To me, I'm buried them. And in fact, I just got some raffle tickets from the Snowmobile Club the other night, and I said, "Oh, I'll fill my own name out on about 100 of them," because I don't know. I guess evidently I'm not a gambler because I give stuff away too. But I just, to me, if I say, "Do you want to buy a raffle ticket?" I'm begging, you know. Or if I had a broom with light bulbs, I was selling something.
Something in your hand. Is there, like I said, any activities or something, and memories of what you might have done in the past that you don't do, that we don't do now, that you enjoyed, that you wish we could have kept going, but things changed too much? Is there anything like that? I guess we did. I've heard people say something about the demo derby and.
The demo derby was good, of course, but now we have other activities. Maybe, you know, with some things that we did in the past that were, like we used to go up and take the football players home from practice, the ones that lived out in the country.
Really?
And so we'd take turns, different ones would volunteer and drive probably about 3 different ones each time to go in different directions. And of course now the kids have cars, and of course why we had to quit was liability. Somebody come up with the idea, you know, if I have an accident, I'm liable for these 3 kids I got with me, you know.
Do you know how many years you did that?
Probably 6 or 8, probably. I guess I can't remember, but it's quite a while ago. We had somebody come up with a liability deal that we couldn't do it anymore.
Well, you have something there. You have anything you want to share with us? You have any notes there for yourself?
I guess I've just gone over what the. Well, I guess one thing was, and that's just a sign of time was all mail, of course. And I can remember when they decided that gals could come in, that was quite a big deal. In fact, there's 2 or 3, I think, of that quit because they wasn't going to belong to it if the girls come to it.
Things have changed.
Yeah, that was a change, a sign of the times, I guess.
As I was saying to another member we were interviewing, I didn't even know the girls could become Lion members until like the year 2000. Someone said it to me and I said, "Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was still guys, but it was women, I guess, since 1987, but I still didn't know for another 15 years.
Yeah, we never had, you know, they did have the Lionesses and the Leos for the young ones, but in Menomonie we never had that.
Okay.
And some, you know, the wives and so on come to events, yeah, but they just weren't ever members. They helped us a lot of times, but they weren't members.
Was anyone else in your family ever a Lion?
No?
You're the first.
Yeah.
First generation.
First generation.
Well, like I said, is there any other favorite things that you've thought about, that you've done over the years? Or, like I said, anything that sticks
Well,
in
I
your
guess
head?
I think a lot about technology,
Okay.
because back when I was treasurer, I used a spreadsheet, I think 36 columns on it, so I had for each committee, you know, and balanced it every month. But I had an adding machine, I had that much.
Yeah, technology has come a long way.
So, yeah, and then I guess that's one thing that I still miss is we used to get a newsletter every month. And now I suppose I could find it on Facebook or something, but I just don't do it.
So that's something that you guys miss. That was something brought up also from Dick Clack. He missed having the newsletter also.
Yeah, that's, you know, we get it, well, just for instance, this past month, I come here and his football coaches were there, which I always enjoyed, and I might have invited somebody to come with me, like my grandson, but I didn't know it
Gotcha.
until I got there.
Well, that's good information to have, because we can take that to the board too at another time and see what we can
And
do.
of course, it also affected up my attendance a little bit, but that's kind of a joke anyway.
It's not as strict as it used to be at all, is it?
Well, it's just really, really hard. I try to I don't always want to have enough, but not pay for a lot of extra meals. And so it's kind of a guessing game. I mean, I paid for more meals than what we served, but you know, that was two extra that I didn't know about.
Sure, and send and let you know. What was one of the most toughest jobs you've had with the Lion?
I don't know, it was all fun.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. That was the first time I asked that question. I didn't know if anything was tougher than the others. I didn't know about being a treasurer, if that was hard, or trying to keep a track of attendance or audit, because you're on a lot of committees.
Yeah, well, you know, attendance isn't hard. It takes a couple extra hours or so every meeting, but I got the extra time now anyway, so I guess it's kind of discouraging sometimes to see all of, I guess I'm kind of conservative and I'm thinking, this person's paying for a meal and he isn't here. I hope he's paying anyways.
Yeah, that has changed a little bit, just to let you know, because Jessica sends out invoices now.
Good,
Yep.
because I guess to me, there's a lot of people, $10 don't mean anything. To me, it does. So in fact, I wrote a list for the next board meeting, so of some people that,
Oh, goodness.
you know, so that's, otherwise, work-wise, it don't bother me. I just think, why can't,
Have you had the opportunity to go to Rochelle to see the Lions camp or do any of that
couple
stuff?
times,
Yeah. I haven't been there yet.
yeah, it's a nice camp.
Do you know anyone that we've sponsored to go there or anything?
What?
Have we sponsored? Do you know anyone that we might have sponsored to
I
go there?
think, well, Jared,
Oh, okay. Right.
and years ago there was a fellow from Menomonie that was blind, I think, went over there a
Okay.
couple times. I can't think of his name offhand.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking that's pretty much all the questions we have, unless you have any stories you want to share. And so we're gonna put a little clip together and.
You know, I think one thing on that I can think of as early in Lions Club, maybe it was just me, but there's a lot more drinking.
No, we've heard that.
Yeah. Of course, then when they passed this 3-drink deal, it was you could get by with 3 drinks. I think people took that to heart.
3-drink deal. What was that?
I think that's what it said. You could have 3 drinks, and wouldn't your blood wouldn't, you know, your breathalyzer. You could get by with 3 drinks without being
The DWI. Yeah.
But that's about the time all the taverns started serving food, you know.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, before that it was, including myself, a lot of people shouldn't have been driving.
We've heard that from a couple others. That there was a little bit more fun going on. I don't know how y'all went to work the next day.
Yeah, I'll try, although I don't drink much anymore, very rarely, but. So I never get on my grandson or nothing, because I think, well, how about your grandpa? How about your grandpa?
Wally, you're funny. Well, I want to thank you very much, Wally. I enjoyed talking to you. You gave us a lot of
I
good
looked,
stuff.
I think, any historical stuff I got, I think, I'll give them to you.
Yep. Terry, you've been a Lion for 40 years?
40 years.
40 years. And do you remember why you became a Lion?
Because my dad, who was a Lion, was moving to Arkansas, Wisconsin, and he said, you have to take my place. And so I went down and saw Bob Musa and told him, Dad says I'm going to be a Lion. So then I went through the, all the ropes, and the interviews, and I was able to come into the Lions with the same people that brought my dad in.
So you've been in the Lions for 40 years. How many positions have you held? Have you held officer positions or anything like that?
The lesser officer positions, the workers, I would say, tail twister, I've done that quite a few times. All the lesser ones.
Lesser ones. Well, tail twister isn't a lesser one. It's
Whatever we call the keeper of the flags. And,
lion tamer, and okay,
Yes,
you did that.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Did you have any position that you've really enjoyed? Because I'm sure you've been committee chair too.
a lot of committees. Chaired a lot of committees. Quite a few. Brumar came to me when we needed a new fundraiser, and he asked me if I could come up with something that generates some additional income, because we were going to get out of the brooms and light bulbs, and from that was spawned checkered flag. So we designed and built that checkered flag, and I ran it
So you were chair of the checkered flag
Right.
from the beginning.
from the beginning, and we built it from scratch, the whole program. And actually, I can thank the company Bills. They financed it. They bought all the grand prizes, and we got Todd Sins and some other people who donated some races. And it was actually a racing banquet. It was themed for NASCAR with the Red Cedar Raceway with race cars and race drivers, and we gave away trips to Daytona 500 and meet and greets with all the greats, and so that's the way it started, and then it mutated into what it is now.
And that is still our largest fundraiser to this day. Do you remember what year you started that? Or how many years it's been going?
Gotta be 20.
About 20 years. Since you've joined the Lions, is there anything that you've noticed that has changed the most from the beginning till now?
Well, we have females. That was a positive. That certainly has been a journey, for us. The mindset of what we do today is a lot different, I think, than what it was back 40 years ago. There wasn't the emphasis on how many people we wanted in the club. They never really pushed hard to get, we had 60, 70, 80. They were happy with always, with those numbers. The way the meetings were run in those days are different. We did a lot of pre-meeting shaking dice and things of those nature. There was always some things going on, and then afterwards as well. They used to bring in regular meetings from time to time, entertainment, media, somebody, celebrities would come in, maybe from the Packers or the Badgers, or, they'd always, that was the hook. Every so often they would, tell you, well, you better be there for this meeting because we're going to have Barry Alvarez or somebody, So that was always something that we don't do that anymore. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it was something that we did.
Since you've had your 40 years with the Lions, is there any special memory, because you have some of these great stories that you're telling us, any special memory of an event or something that you can think of off the top of your head?
Well, there was a lot of them. I don't know any specific one. The bowling, the early bowling, the first year I was in the club, they made me like an assistant chair of the state bowling tournament in Menomonie. And back then it was huge, and it ran for, well, I had to tell you how many weeks, but it went on forever. And double shifts, and it was something else. And we had some crazy people in the club, and some of the stuff that went on in those bowling, the storytelling. George Baker comes to mind. George Baker was a businessman in Lion. He was an artificial inseminator by trade. But anyway, so he knew everybody. He knew all the farmers. And George would turn his hat, get his teeth going this way, and then he'd talk in dialects, and he'd talk Jewish, and he would talk, whatever he needed to do, and he'd work up and down all the the areas, to sell tickets. And every time he stopped to sell raffle tickets, he'd tell a story, and he just crazy. And he had this Connie Mansky with him, and Connie, they pull these jokes. Connie would always talk about he could, stand on one leg and put one leg on the top of his head, and he'd bet you a drink, and they said, because he says I'm contortionist, so he had a wooden leg. So he'd take the leg off and set it on top of his place and go nuts, Then of course he'd not take their money, but it was just some of the stuff that went on in those bowling tournaments. It was fun. It was fun.
After mentioning these people, is there any other person that might have been a great influencer, or someone that showed you the ropes, or someone that you really have a great memory of?
Boy, we haven't had a lot of good, good, even great Lions, to pinpoint one. Bill Josephson was one of the gentlemen that owned the Flame in Menomonie, and this guy, he was involved with. He just could get things done, if you needed something done in the club, Bill Josephson would do it. Him and the Mysex, you couldn't say no to him. Did I say it that way? Bill would get it done. So, one of the great Lions, Bill Josephson.
Oh, great. Thanks, Terry. That's all the questions we have for you.
That's too much.
Hey, Jack, you've been a Lion for 40-some years, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And do you remember why you became a Lion 40-some years ago?
I did it because people seemed to having fun in Lions Club.
What have you noticed has changed the most since you joined?
I think the overall structure of the Lions Club has really improved because they've dedicated people now to certain tasks that people really get into. They have a floor mat for basketball and for roadside cleanups and for all the stuff we do, and it's better to have some people that take charge of that and it all gets done. And it's good exposure for us because we're all over it.
In these past 40 years, have you held any officer positions?
I have.
And which ones were they?
I was president.
And did you like being a president?
Yeah, I did. I was late a couple nights, but other than that, I like being president.
Did you do any other officer positions?
Yes, I was lion tamer and all that stuff.
Did you had any committees?
Yes, I did.
Which ones were
With
those?
construction committee I run, and we had people that were less fortunate and couldn't afford to do steps on trailer houses or just small tasks like that. That was a big deal to them, but it was pretty minor for us.
And in these past 40 years, was there anybody that was a great influencer of yours or someone that you have a great memory of?
Just Brewmeyer.
And do you have, with that said, do you have any one story or special memory of any committees that you were on or any events that you've been at?
You know, we had a lot of great times on all the committees that we were on, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. Simple enough question. Len, how many years do you think you have?
How many?
Yeah.
38.
38?
38 or 37.
Okay. So do you remember why you became a Lion?
Well, I went to a Christmas party that the Lions had at the Knapp House with 3 of the older guys that aren't even in the club anymore. And I came back, and Dean Ormson was the store manager at that time, and he asked me if I'd like to join Lions, and he brought me in, and that's who brought me into Lions. So we always have had a great Christmas party. I mean, Dick, I think, will vouch for that there. And the ladies always enjoyed it. They were dressed up, they could wear stuff, you know. And we always had a great time at those.
Out of all the years that you've been in the Lions, is there anyone you can think of that is a mentor that for you, or a great influencer, or someone that you've held some respect for that might no longer be with us?
Well, actually, there was quite a few of them, really. Just thinking about them when you went back. I mean, Max Tritt, I worked with him for years on the Easter egg hunt. Lauren Kropp was another one. We did Easter eggs at his place over here where they did the eggs and stuff. And we ruined his sink one night. We put all the dye in a brand new sink, and they couldn't get the dye out of the sink. So we were in there scrubbing back and forth with SOS pads, and we've had some great times with that there. So with that committee there.
What in the Lions has changed the most that you can think of since when you first joined?
Well, I would say the eating places. It used to be the president could make his mind up where we're going to meet for the next maybe 3 months, and then they could go to another place for 3 months, and then we'd go to another one. And it seemed like all these places that were, like Bill Myers and Jake Frank and Harvey, everyone would try to fix a little better meal, you know. So we'd always have a great meal at these places. And we'd have a good time, and it seemed like we got better turnouts in because people got to go and see something different.
Do you have a memory or about a Lions event or something in the Lions, or anything that stands out? Or a couple memories, that doesn't have to just be one.
But I think the Easter egg hunt there was, we had some great memories with that there and how it's grown over the years. And I can't remember just how that Arden Alexander, what did he do down the game park? Did he cut a tree down, took the power lines down? Remember we had to get REA down there to take care of something?
Yeah.
I can't remember just what it was. But we didn't have electricity for the water pumps and stuff down there. We had to get them down to take care of that. Arden always had a chainsaw. He had to be cutting something down all the time.
Yep.
Or he'd be out picking all the garbage up at the roadside. You'd pick all these dirty old cans and crap up, you get it back to the thing, and he'd dump them out and pick the aluminum cans out to sell. He thought we were supposed to sort through those. No way in heck.
We were burning all that stuff down there, the tops and everything.
Yeah.
And I was down there to watch. I said to Arden, now you call this in, everything, oh yeah, all taken care of. Arden leaves, 5 minutes, I hear sirens coming, and they're coming closer, down to Wakanda. Here comes the fire department through the woods.
Have you held any officer positions at all with the club throughout the years?
Just the board of directors and tail twisters and assistant tail twisters.
Did you have any preference, which one you liked the best, or it didn't matter?
It didn't matter. I just don't want to be president or none of this stuff. give that to somebody else that likes to talk.
Okay, that's all I have for you.
Great.
Okay, simple enough.
I don't know if I helped you at all.
Oh, yeah. All right, Dick, kind of the same questions for you that I've asked in the past. About how many years have you been with the Lions now? Do you know?
No, I don't. Got in 76 or 7, 8.
I'm thinking,
I was 83, so you were before me.
let's see what we have. I'm showing 44 years.
Okay.
44 years is what I have written down. Do you remember why you became a Lion 44 years ago?
Yeah, so the Lions were very well known in Menomonie because if anything happened, whether it was a train derailment, storm, flooding, Lions were there to support. And by support, I mean food, drinks, and that for the workers there. And they have done that for years. Back when I got in, it was a lot of businessmen in the Lions Club, and I knew a lot of them just from growing up in Menomonie. And my father was a charter member at one time. After World War II, he went up and down Main Street, according to my mother, getting named, getting people signed up for the Lions Club. And he talked to me one time, he says, you know, if you get in that, he says, they aren't a knife, fork, and spoon club. It's a working club. Kind of spend some time in there. I said, yeah, I know. And so I ended up joining the Lions Club. And it was a working club.
Have you had, oh, I'm sorry.
Remember one time you get done with work and do I want to go to the Lions or do I want to go home? And I thought I'd go home. Next day, Rich Emmert called me up, the Lions Club member. He said, Dick, you weren't at Lions last night. I said, yeah, I know it. I said, we've been busy. Oh, don't tell me how busy. I read the paper. Don't tell me how busy you've been. And he said, I'll tell you something. If you're going to do that, you might as well get out. He says, because no sense in that. And, that stayed with me all the way through. And I'm kind of glad that he did it.
Have you held any officer positions? Or what was the highest position that you held?
2 vice presidents and a president. One of the vice presidents dropped out, so I was kicked up.
Did you like any position better than the other?
No. Trouble with the president, you had to be at everything. Yeah.
What has changed the most since you joined that you can think of?
Women run the organization now. I guess that's the biggest change. When I got in, Lions Club was like a good old boys club. A lot of drinking, off-color jokes. And we had 2 sisters that wanted to get in, the first ones here, and they were turned down. They eventually got in. And we had 4 Lions Club members quit just like that, long-time members. Because when I got in, where it was, I joined the Lions to get away from my wife for another night and another night of drinking. That was it. Yeah. So yeah, that has changed, and of course, like Len said, where we eat, we used to move around. We had a lot of exposure. People knew we were in town. The Lions Club meeting started at 6:45, and we get home about 1:30 in the morning. That type of thing. Of course, there's a lot more laws today, so that's going out the window.
Shaking ice. They would
Yes.
They'd go to a pool table and 10 guys around there probably, and they'd put $1 in for eggs and you'd shake, and then that game would go on forever because somebody would tie it. It was a long night.
And we had a dress code. You had to, sport coat, sweater, ties. You weren't real persnickety on it, but you dressed, which didn't bother me. I was that way during the day anyway. So,
Do you have a great influencer or a mentor in the Lions, or someone that you really have special memories about?
Pete Henriksen was one. I go back a long way. He was one of my teachers and Phi Ed coach years ago. I always liked Pete. He's the one that nominated me for president. I wanted to turn him down so bad. It would have been anybody else, but it was Pete, and I thought, I can't turn him down. Just can't. And so there I went. And another one was Maury Randy. Maury Randy was Lions all the time. I mean, couldn't even sleep on the weekend. He'd call up Saturday, what are you doing? I'm sleeping. What do you think I'm doing? He said, well, get your bowling stuff. We're going to Chipman Bowl for Lions tournament. I said, what? Okay. He was that way. He just boom. He's the one that told me, if you want to know what's going on in Lions, you're not going to find it out at the meeting. Go to the board meeting. You'll find out what's going on. And it'll be another night. Maury Randy always had something with Lions going, you know, you get people together. We're going over here, Lions Club, where we're going to have, we want a membership drive.
Do you have a special memory or story about a lion event?
Oh yeah, but I don't know if I can tell it. Oh, it was. I don't know if you ever heard of Bob Musa. Bob was Lions for years. And Bob had a habit when these guys, you know, were drinking. And I think this was probably at a Lions Club bowling tournament there at the bar drinking. And when it got to be Bob's turn to buy around, he wouldn't be there, he would be in the bathroom. And this kept going on, and so the guys, what they did when they went to the bathroom was they started a tab on him. These guys did a lot of drinking too. It was time to leave, and Bob was all smiles, you know, and the bartender said, just a minute, you have a tab here. It was for $200.
Is there anything else you would like to share?
Well, after I retired, I've been retired about 10, 11 years, which I'm just as busy now as I was when I was working. But I thought about getting out of Lions. You know, because one of the reasons being in business, you get in for business contacts too, you know, with people. And I got thinking about it, and I thought, that's too important. It's too important, so I stayed in. Even with Brewmeyer still in there.
All right.
Yeah, that's about it. It's a great organization, and all organizations have changed basically from the good old boys. I think Lions Club is better off now to have women in it. Good to have some brains in there.
Gary, do you know how many years you've been a Lion member?
Yeah, it's 35, going on 36, I believe. Started back in 85, October of 85.
Do you remember why you became a Lion?
Well, at the time, I guess it wasn't as important as, you know, you think later. But at the time, I was asked to join a group, and I had a few people that was associated with that were Lions, and I was very well aware of the Lions, seeing the vests and so on around town, and always active, and seemed to be having a good time, especially afterwards. And I put it off a little bit because the kids were pretty young, and so after being asked a few times, I said okay. I went to a kind of a membership month, and it said no commitment, and next thing I knew, I was signed up. So, but it's been fun for a long time. So.
Have you held any officer positions? And if you did, which ones? And did you like one more than the other?
Within the club, I was on the board of directors. I was tail twister. I was, of course, second, first, and president. And then in the district level, I was a zone and district governor. And I guess I enjoyed being president. It was a lot of fun because you had a very working group of people. And it was nice to see the organization with the leadership, and, you know, and get organized and do what they had to do. So.
In these past years that you've been with the Lions, did you have a mentor in the Lions or anyone that was an influencer that helped you out along the way?
You know, there were so many people that helped, and I think you even see that nowadays. Any one lion will help another lion, and I think back then, because I knew, and they were older people, and if I mentioned one, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and they were all helped me in some way, just maybe not verbally, but just in their actions, looking at them working, doing the things that they do, and following their habits, looking back at the past and seeing what they've done in the history and how they're helping people in need.
Can you tell us what the Lions were like when you first joined versus now? So what kind of changed the most?
Okay, a lot of the same things, you know, always looking for new projects, always looking to help people, and same thing as now. And if you look back, there were a lot of different projects that we did back then that we don't do now, such as the gumball sales back then, don't do it now. Selling dictionaries, don't do it now. So a lot of things have changed over the years, but they're willing to change. There was a little reluctance, you know, to bringing in younger members sometimes, but not a whole lot. And I think it's just a matter of getting the job done. I think even back then, though, you know, we didn't have the communication that we have now. So if the president said, we are meeting next Wednesday night and we're going to do this, this, and this, they showed up. Now we have to send them half dozen emails and so on to remind them, because that's the way we're geared to function, and it's unfortunate. But we still, I think overall, leadership has been excellent with our group. We've been able to stay strong, about 100 strong for many years, and it's great. So.
And my last question, do you have a special memory story about a Lions function or event that is memorable to you?
Gosh, there again, it's sometimes better not to say anything at all, because, you know, I guess all the functions are fun, and that's what it is. It's all about having fun. And, you know, we work hard and afterwards have fun. And you look back at the past and then look at the present and the future, where we're going to go. And that's one thing it would be nice to see a little bit of a change, because back when we did the light bulb sale, after the thing was done, everybody got together. It wasn't all together, or the groups at a different bar and had a beer and a sandwich and so on. Here, a few stick around. And that's what I like about some of the functions. Well, the Easter egg contest is an example. Everybody goes, just know afterwards we're going over and we're going to have a little cocktail and a little hospitality and so on. And it's great. And there's where you learn, there's where you hear the stories and so on. And then the same thing with the roadside cleanup is afterwards we go back and we just socialize, and it's just great. Great hospitality, great you know, communication, a lot of fun. And it'd be nice to have a little bit more of that. So, but everybody's busy, so it's kind of hard.